It's time for the Texas Renaissance Festival. Over 400 artisans and craftspeople await you in their beautifully recreated 16th century village. Enjoy a worldwide menu featuring savory dishes, tasty sweets, and a variety of drinks. Revel in the finest musicians, entertainers, and nightly fireworks. Stay the weekend with their Stay and Play Pass. Open weekends and Thanksgiving Friday from October 11th through November 30th. Get tickets and more at texrenfest.com. Family merriment awaits. Huzzah! Located in Houston's Energy Corridor, the Village School is here to serve students from age 2 through 12th grade with private day school and boarding school options. They're ranked as one of the top 20 K-12 private schools in America by niche.com because their world-class teachers provide exceptional learning experiences with a STEAM American curriculum in an international community. Visit thevillageschool.com to learn more or register for their STEAM Day open house on November 13th. Today on CityCast Houston, in many places across Texas, there are simply not enough childcare providers for families. I've experienced this myself. My wife and I had to enroll our youngest daughter in daycare almost 6 months before she could start, and I have friends who can't find openings at all. It's a major problem, and not just for families. So today I'm chatting with Dr. Melanie Johnson with Collaborative for Children about our childcare crisis and what we can do about it. And this episode is part of our Education Week series brought to you by the Village School, where students are in advanced learning environments through unique collaborations with MIT, Space Center Houston, Juilliard, and UNICEF. Learn more at thevillageschool.com. It's Tuesday, September 23rd. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Dr. Johnson, welcome into CityCast Houston. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
So tell me, what's the need in Harris County right now when it comes to childcare and early education?
Well, quality is the need and affordability. The biggest crisis that we're facing now is access to a childcare center that's equipped with teachers who have been highly trained and skilled in competencies to deal with children, specifically early education and early education theory, but also the kinds of opportunities or availabilities or vacancies for families to be able to access near to their places of work or place of their residence.
Yeah, and this quality is so important, right? And we all know that early childhood education is very important for setting up children for success later on in school and then later on in life. Describe to me what that setting up for success should look like.
Yes, Raheel, you made an excellent point that the brain is developing so rapidly between ages of birth to 5. 90% of its neural synapses are being developed. So that makes the brain malleable enough to have incredible experiences that leads to strong social emotional engagement. In a classroom, shall I raise my hand, speak out of turn, or speak when acknowledged? Do I have self-regulation when things aren't going well? Can I self-soothe? All of those skills are very, very necessary. But then also, there's an expectation that children are literate by 3rd grade. So the emergent literacy skills, recognizing uppercase and lowercase alphabet, and being able to count to 20 and 30 for ages 3 and 4, respectively. Those kinds of skills are also very necessary for quality. But teachers have to understand that this is not an adult-centric kind of methodology that will be most effective in the classroom. What's necessary for an early childhood education is play. Just good old fun play, but it has to be intentionally directed so that a child can have those skills integrated in their play. So that's what quality looks like for us.
That's what quality looks like. And we're having a hard time right now in the city of Houston with that, and Harris County, of course.
Yes, we are. And we have very few subsidized seats. In terms of access and affordability, we have about 360,000 children just in Harris County, ages birth to 4 years of age, but only 160,000 subsidized childcare seats. It's hard to make the business case for most childcare owners to have more subsidized seats than those that are paying the full recovery cost for each child.
And when those families can get those seats, right? Families who are struggling to make ends meet, because Houston is not as affordable as it used to be, and we have a growing inequality gap as well. How does that impact them?
Yes, we definitely have a growing inequality gap, and it's because of the limited access and certainly affordability. So, even if a family is eligible for childcare tuition subsidies, the wait list can be up to 18 months. So, say for instance, you go out and you get a job, and they say, when can you start? You say 2 weeks. The subsidies aren't going to kick in until about a year and a half later. Well,
Oh,
then you've
wow.
lost that opportunity. So, we have those challenges. We did receive some funding thanks to our state legislators for $100 million additional subsidy, but the costs have risen so that additional funding has been absorbed in the original cost.
So is it going to help additional families or no?
Not as many as we had expected. We'd expected it to help 10,000 additional families, and the increased costs have primarily absorbed that additional funding because of the things just simply cost more now.
How much do you think we need?
Oh, you don't get me started on what we need for early education because
Yeah, an unlimited budget would be great.
it would be an unlimited would be my vote.
But is there a number that comes to mind? Like, because 100 million, if it didn't help additional families, that's heartbreaking.
Well, we were trying to get 10,000 off a waiting list of 25,000, so at least almost half of that.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, somewhere between 300,000, 350,000 would be essential to be able to remedy
Gotcha.
at least that problem. But then we have other families who will not even be on the wait list because we don't have the amount of dollars to subsidize all eligible families in the state of Texas.
Fall in love with downtown Houston this season. Grab your blanket and your bingo card for Blanket Bingo, one of the city's favorite fall traditions. Or cozy up under the stars for outdoor movie nights featuring everything from Wicked to Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my personal favorites. Need to shake off those pumpkin spice lattes? Downtown Houston has free fitness in the park, yoga, hip-hop dance, and breathwork at Trudley and Market Square Park to keep you moving. And yes, even your four-legged friends get their own Yappy Hour Paw Tea. And mark your calendar, Dia de los Muertos takes over downtown with live music, art, kids activities, and a glowing community ofrenda. Plus a family screening of Coco that will give you all the feels. The weather is nice, so it's time to make this season unforgettable. Plan your downtown adventure with your friends and family at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Also, with people who don't have kids, right? Houstonians who don't have kids. Let's talk about why this childcare crisis could impact them. Why is this a benefit for them?
It's a two-generation remedy for families in low-income communities, families of poverty. Childcare gives them an opportunity to go out and work and contribute to society, but also to have self-pride because they are able to contribute. But then the second generation, their child, they can truly change the trajectory of poverty by having an educated offspring that goes into kindergarten prepared to learn on day one, is literate by third grade, is able to perform on par by fourth grade and by eighth grade, We recently received the National Assessment for Education Progress, the nation's report card, if you will. And America is declining. Fourth graders and eighth grades are declining rapidly. And even more so, the children who are already behind are performing at even lower levels, certainly below proficiency.
Wow. We knew that, right? But like to hear it one more time, it breaks my heart. And I keep going back to it really hurts because I'm fortunate that both of my kids have gone through a daycare system. One is still in it. And we see the success. We see it playing out, like how different they are and how they can do the things that you mentioned. But the
Yes.
families that can't, the children that can't, it's just something that I wish we were rallying around. And and I've heard Judge Hidalgo really go to bat for this. And of course, we remember what happened at Commissioner's Court and all the video that came out of it. But what's being done in terms of direct government funding locally?
Well, there are very limited funds surrounding early education at this point. I mentioned the Texas Workforce Commission having the additional dollars for subsidized childcare seats and our local level would be the Houston Galveston Area Council that disseminates those funds. In terms of public dollars in public school, public pre-K, Texas Education Agency manages that. We have so many different disparate agencies with different goals, with different pots of funding. At least 4. Department of Health and Human Services goes into homes for family visitation. In order to remedy this problem, we need to bring those agencies together or at least create a separate agency to make sure that early education is governed effectively and that there are common goals across each one of those agencies as well. Because in order to achieve greatness in terms of early education success, there has to be some level of true early education theory and a common goal to serve as a metric to make sure that does occur.
Is that occurring? Are you the one who's going to do that? Is there somebody else that's pushing for this to unite all of these different bodies and to make sure that all children are taken care of and ready to succeed in life through early childcare?
Well, that's primarily why Collaborative for Children created its Centers of Excellence, so that we could have the necessary data upon us, so that when legislators said, well, where do we get the biggest bang for our buck? Where do I invest? Because we always will have limited dollars. There is no money that just rains down on because there are lots of issues. But when it comes to early childhood education, the Collaborative for Children has created an ecosystem in the greater Houston area across 13 counties, rural and urban, to make sure that we support the childcare business owner with business acumen and skills and the necessary technical resources so that they can manage their business. We support the teachers in terms of their competencies in the theory for early childhood education, as well as empower and engage parents. And so looking at that data, it says that if we invest in our teachers primarily, we get an incredible bang for our buck, but also as well our parents. And we also know that across that 125 childcare ecosystem, that because we have common goals that we're measuring, emergent literacy skills, emergent numeracy, and social emotional learning, among other learning domains, that we are achieving greatness because the teachers, the childcare business owner, and the parents are all speaking the same language.
That's fantastic, right? You're focusing not only on the student, but the teacher, the parents, the business, all of this. And you just explained why that's important. So have you gone to any potential public-private partnership meetings? Maybe it's private money coming in and helping fill this gap?
Yes, we continue to have meetings with private philanthropists as well as with public donors as well. I don't see as many public funds other than a potential tax levy that the judge was seeking. But more or less, the funding around early childhood education is the one-time COVID relief funding. And those are soon to dry up, and we will see a cliff again by 2026.
How bad is that going to be?
That's going to be pretty devastating. I will say 50% of budgets of organizations are surrounded by those one-time COVID funds. Now, it's up to the organization to be judicious about the use of that, not go and hire a lot of staff that you can't then sustain. But if you use it to aspire to excellence and make sure that you have strong curriculum and resources, at some point when it comes time to scale to other childcare centers, it will be very difficult, very challenging for more children to benefit.
Oh, and this is why Judge Hidalgo was so passionate about pushing that penny tax and increase funding for childcare, and not only increase it, but just maintain the funding from those COVID dollars that came in. It didn't even make the ballot, unfortunately. Would you have supported this kind of tax? Does Harris County need this kind of tax?
We're going to need the funding from somewhere, because for a community to have prosperity and to be competitive, especially as Houston is growing and more companies are coming back home into the greater Houston area, Amazon, NVIDIA, you name it, Tesla, we're going to need the academic and ingenuity prowess to be able to fill those jobs without having to outsource. And so I think it's imperative that we fund early education in any situation. Anybody who's a business owner, if you've got a challenge, you don't start at the end, career and college readiness. You started with a root cause analysis, and that is at the very beginning. Child ages birth to 5, when they're equipped with the skills they need, then our city of Houston will be very prosperous as well.
This show is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or sending euros to tip your Coliseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. That's what makes Wise the fast, affordable way to use your money around the globe. Wise also offers 24/7 live support, and they run over 7 million daily checks to catch and prevent fraud, so you know your money is where it's supposed to be. Be smart. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Terms and conditions apply. Dr. Johnson, I want to ask you about the Collaborative for Children and the role that y'all play beyond just a student, because you're helping the parents, business owner, the teachers. How are you helping them, and why is that important?
Yes. Well, in the state of Texas, there is no one governing agency surrounding the vast majority of little Texans, children who are not enrolled in public pre-K. Public pre-K right now has about 40% enrollment for children who are eligible for those seats. So children who fall outside of public pre-K with choices, private childcare or home-based care, or children who are just home with a family friend or neighbor, there is no governing agency to say these are the skills that are necessary for you to be successful, not only the first day of kindergarten, but throughout your life. So Collaborative for Children has taken on that role and made sure that Houston, at least, has that kind of system of accountability and support. So we provide resources and coaching to childcare business owners, to parents who want to support their children at home and make the culturally competent homeschool connection, as well as to teachers. There are competencies that are purely theoretically based in early childhood education that are necessary. And so we built that ecosystem of 125 childcare centers in diverse formats across the greater Houston area, the 13-county area. And we go out and we coach them every other week to make sure that the children at the end of the day are improving in outcomes. And we've seen that 95%, almost all the children, more than 8,000 children who have come through that ecosystem in the past 5 years at least, are prevailing towards school readiness. So it is a very successful model, and it should be one that would be able to inform a public-private partnership in its near future.
I'm glad you brought up coaching, Dr. Johnson. What exactly are y'all doing right now? Because I'm thinking about these toddlers, and again, I have a 3-year-old, and she is facing a different set of problems as a 3-year-old in this world. She was born in the pandemic era, right? What exactly are they going through, and what challenges are you seeing with our youngest Houstonians?
Yeah, so the teachers in our 125 childcare ecosystem are observing the children's progress in social emotional learning skills. And the one area that we're not making a strong progress, because we're making 95% progress in all other metrics, but one area that's most challenging are behavioral concerns. We're not in the typical or the strength area of behavioral concerns, primarily because many of the babies, and this is anecdotal, but we're seeing this by and large, that many of the babies who were born during the COVID era, where most adults were wearing masks and they didn't get to see that maybe an action required a positive reaction because someone smiled gently at them, or they frowned because that was not a good action that they took. So those kinds of social emotional skills that would reduce behavioral challenges are being mitigated by Collaborative for Children through coaching teachers on neurodiversity skills in the classroom. And neurodiversity, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It just means that all our brains are wired differently and that these behaviors are not neurotypical. They're not the typical behaviors that you would see a child exhibit during birth to 5 years of age.
Yeah, so interesting. I don't know if you saw this, Dr. Johnson, but our neighboring state, New Mexico, they just announced that they will guarantee childcare free for all families, regardless of income. This is universal, no cost childcare, which kind of sounds like a dream to me and so many other families. What did you think about that?
Oh, I know that our city, our state, and our nation can do anything that it puts its mind to. And if you really, really understand that 15 to 20 years from now, that the children who are born today are going to be the ones who are filling those jobs, that is a worthwhile investment for universal pre-K. And I'm watching not only other states like New Mexico, but other cities like San Antonio come together and have these kinds of funding initiatives to make affordable, high quality early education accessible to its constituents.
It would be incredible. Could you imagine
Yes.
that?
Yes, we did it during World War
Yeah.
II. I mean, we needed people to go off to fight. We
Yeah.
needed the women to come out of the homes to support the soldiers. And so we had universal pre-K. So, of course, dire times calls for very outrageous measures, but this is not outrageous. It has been proven that we can do it. We can put our dollars where our mouth is. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to have this revisited for funding.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very defining moment for our region in the upcoming years, and it's something we're going to be watching out for. I do want to ask you, is there a piece of advice that you could give to any caregiver when it comes to toddlers that could help them set those toddlers up for success?
My primary advice that comes to top of mind is that these little beings, there's so many skills that we've acquired over the years that we take for granted, like being able to know directionality, left from right, or to turn around, or to have fine motor skills, or to know for an infant to be able to serve and return, coo back and play peekaboo. All of those skills are necessary for a child to be able to navigate and to build upon those skills, build working memory and executive function so that they can be successful in life. I would suggest to a parent to not try and skip over all of those seemingly small skills that are very, very strong building blocks for a strong future workforce.
Dr. Johnson, I'm so glad you brought up intentional play. This is something I love doing with my daughters. It's fun to get out there and just play, right? Because once they enter the school system, it gets serious really fast. But when it comes to early childcare, what does intentional play look like?
Yeah, well, play is serious learning for children. And intentional play looks like a child is building blocks and stacking blocks on top of each other. And you're asking, should the heavier block go up top or should the heavier block go at bottom? So that's sequencing, and that's understanding that there are building blocks and that there is a different weight for a block in comparison to another block. So that's compare and contrast. That's building upon working knowledge. That's fine motor skills and gross motor skills. All of those things are occurring when a child is playing and you're asking the right questions. And then be mindful not to give the answers so quickly. We want to do things for our children to make them successful immediately, but trial and error are the best lessons during play. So if they're doing ring around the rosy and they're running around in circles, it's a magical game. But to be able to say, tap the third person on their head, that's learning to count while having an enjoyable learning experience. They are children, and play is serious learning for children.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times my wife gets upset at me when I tell others, like, hey, don't answer for our toddler, because I'm like, I want her to answer when we're doing fun stuff.
As she should.
I'm not the bad guy. I feel better now.
No, you're not the bad guy. You're doing it correctly.
Dr. Johnson, thank you so much. And I am watching this story very closely, and I can't wait to see what the collaborative does in this and what you're going to do in this as well. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
That was Dr. Melanie Johnson, CEO of Collaborative for Children. You can learn more about them, plus the trends in early childcare I mentioned with the links in our show notes. Education Week is a really important project for us because of how these topics are changing our city. So please share our work with your favorite group chat so they can also hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to CityCast Houston if you haven't yet, plus our daily newsletter, Hey Houston. And if you want to support the show even more, become a CityCast Houston neighbor for just $10 a month. Thanks. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.